Welcome to Backpage Blues Part 2. It's time for my favourite part of the week. It's where we answer your questions. I'm still joined by Charlie, the Hurricane Skillen, and thank you so much for getting all of your questions in. Should we make a start?
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done this.
It's been far too long. And remember, we're back with a special edition Backpage Blues tomorrow night. It's going to be an extra long one.
Quality. Right, I'll kick it off. Justin Bennett, first question on Twitter. He wants to know, will Drogba be joining us or staying at Montreal Impact? And as you say, Drogba's actually cancelled his contract with Montreal Impact. He won't be going back there. Would you like to see Drogba back at Chelsea?
It's the dream. The King of Munich returning to... It's the prodigal son returns, isn't it? It would be...
Again.
It really would be the stuff that dreams are made of. I think having players of his calibre and his magnitude and stature around the club is exactly what we need. I think that the youth would really look up to him. I think that a lot of players, not only the youth, but I think a lot of current players
definitely
love to see him. He's got such an aura around him.
That's exactly the right word to use. I think you saw, Chelsea got a lot of stick at the end of last season for the way they were playing when they went over the line to win the title. I think you saw how important Drogba was in some of those games, like Leicester away, QPR away. Maybe not so much on the pitch, but you could see all the celebrations. Like after the game, he was front and centre of all of it. He was
and they carried him off, didn't they? They paid him the ultimate compliment.
They did, and he was the one that everyone was going to. I think he was such a leader for that dressing room, and I think Chelsea had a real problem letting influence and experience. You saw it with Lampard, letting that walk out the door and replacing it with nothing.
No swearing. No swearing, Charlie.
No. I didn't even mean it like that. But nothing on that level.
Yes, I completely agree.
So and Hiddink, from what Hiddink says, he'd be up for it as well. Drogba coming in some sort of coaching role or something like that.
Fingers crossed it happens as soon as possible. Yeah. I've got a very good question here from James. Jamesy B, CFC. Cheers for your question, mate. This is a good question.
Go on.
Could we realistically lose Hazard, Costa, Courtois and Oscar in the summer? That is actually, if you're not watching from England, that's actually the back page of The Sun today, I believe.
It is.
And it said...
Never heard of it.
The back page of one of the main tabloid papers here has reported that it could be a mass exodus of the 4 players that I just mentioned.
Yeah, it was Rob Beasley's story on the back of The Sun is, obviously a journalist that covered Chelsea for a long time. But I'll be honest, I don't think it's out of the ballpark at all. I don't...
Okay,
I think for
should we take them individually rather than as a huge... Yeah, let's just take them individually and try and get Charlie's perspective on it. We'll do it in the order that James has written it. We'll go Eden Hazard.
At this point, I'd be surprised to see him at Chelsea next year. His situation has obviously changed since the departure of Jose Mourinho. But I still don't think he's happy at the club.
And Zidane and Madrid.
Yeah, and if Real Madrid can buy players, that basically seals it for me.
Yeah, and Zidane.
Zidane is Hazard's big hero, and
vice versa.
And the admiration is reciprocated. But PSG as well is also a club that have been after him for a long time. He obviously was in France at a very young age. He was happy there. It's not one we know the ins and outs of at the minute. But we know that Hazard has not had a happy time this season, and would be, from what we hear, would not be too sad to leave the club this summer.
How torturous. I suppose we're going to have to carry on here because I just feel like having a cup of tea, really, because that's just
I don't think it's going to get any better, mate.
Diego Costa. He's been playing with such heart and fight and vigour.
He has.
Desperate to have him back for Arsenal. Desperate.
Yeah, that would be
desperate.
That would be
and I hope they play Gabriel and he gets himself. Diego
Costa is very interesting and different situation to Hazard, where it's not so clear cut. That he has been getting in amongst it and he has been playing a lot better. But that's also the player he is. Even at the back end of last season, and we talked about it during the summer, early part of this season, he's not settled in London.
Right.
He is.
So it's the off the pitch stuff rather than the on the pitch stuff.
Yeah,
I prefer that.
Yeah, and
if you can't settle in London and your family aren't happy, that's fair enough.
Again, and pretty much with all of these, the departure of Mourinho has thrown these all up in the air.
Right.
Any new manager, obviously, he's worked with Diego Simeone before.
So if he came in, maybe it would change things.
It's possible. But one thing we're definitely never certain is he was a lot more settled in Madrid than he is in London.
Right.
But I do believe, and this is not going off any massive great insight into him as a person, but just kind of watching it. I do believe he enjoys playing for the club and enjoys the fans and stuff like that.
So Costa not so certain as Hazard, say?
No.
Courtois?
It's been a bit of a hot topic on Twitter for me. I
had
the temerity to suggest that he wasn't Gordon Banks, Levi Ashton and Peter Schmeichel all rolled into one, and got absolute dogs abuse on Twitter.
Good work. I favourited a lot of them. I was a big fan.
Absolutely not. You know, no. I mean, for me, Courtois is definitely a top keeper. I do not see him as infallible. I think he's been at fault for quite a few of the goals we conceded since his return. Interestingly, one of the big divisions in the camp with Mourinho and the staff was Mourinho rushed Courtois back too early, so that might have had an impact. I'd certainly like to see Courtois stay. I think maybe the biggest thing for him, I think he's probably the least likely to leave out of the four, which is good news. But I think, and this is the case for all of them as well, don't think Chelsea are going to be in the Champions League next season. I mean,
we're not going to, barring winning it.
That's very unlikely, isn't it? So Courtois is definitely an elite level keeper. He's definitely a Champions League keeper. Again, he is one that's, you know, had problems earlier in the season with his happiness, and he was very settled in Madrid as well. Okay. So again, we're talking about a player's happiness. You know, I don't claim to know him, but from what we've heard, he is not. He's probably the least likely to leave out of the four.
Right. And what about Oscar? Just take him as an individual.
Look, Oscar. I was surprised Oscar stayed at Chelsea.
You've been sniffing around him for years.
Yeah, I was surprised he stayed at Chelsea in the summer. In fact, the deal was set up for him to go. Mourinho wasn't a fan. For me, Oscar, whenever Oscar plays well, I always go away from the game thinking what an asset to the team he is. Unfortunately, that's about one match in 5 or 6. No, basically it wouldn't surprise me. I think Oscar is one that would need to leave to give Chelsea a kind of a new look and a fresher kind of attacking purpose. Okay. And
there you have it. Yeah. Great question, that, James. Thank you very much.
Yeah, quite sort of depressing answer.
So yes, there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're all definitely going to leave, but I can see
a world in which each of them could leave.
I can see scenarios for each of them, certainly. Next one from Jack on Twitter. With Baba Rahman rumoured to be leaving Chelsea, do you think we should recall Ake or look for an alternative? I
think we should recall Ake, definitely. I think that he's playing very well.
Yes, he's been one of Watford's best players this season, and that's no easy feat.
They're a good team.
They've actually lost 4 on the trot now, but he has been very, very good. For me, this goes back to the loss of Ryan Bertrand, which I think is one of the worst decisions the club has made in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
What do you think?
I completely agree. I think the fact that Bertrand is won a European Cup is playing, and we were playing a right back at left back, and it's a bit of a shambles. But of course, I'd like to see Ake play. I think he's a really gifted player, and I think that he'd be an asset to the team. Get him back. Yeah.
Look, I agree with you. Baba Rahman has, I kind of questioned him on Twitter, and people weren't too happy. I haven't been impressed with him when he's played for Chelsea personally. Obviously, he is young, and he does have a lot to learn. But it wasn't. It was one of the signs that kind of started fractures in the hierarchy of the club, because it was an Emanalo signing. Mourinho didn't really want him or know too much about him or have plans for him in the team. I think it's very telling that just because that situation arose, he hasn't played a single minute under Gus Hiddink. Yeah. So that's very telling. It's not just Mourinho. Yeah. It's not a move that's worked out on or off the pitch. By all accounts, he's not settled at all. Right. I think Chelsea will be looking to buy a new left back, but I go back to what we're doing, letting probably England's starting left back in the European Championships leave for nothing.
Yeah. Terrible. Got a question here from King Zuma. Cheers for the question, King.
Kurt.
Do you believe that we need a manager to come in and have a mass overhaul of the squad to hope to win the Champions League?
Yes, certainly. Obviously Chelsea will have a new manager.
Do you think that's what will happen there? If a new manager comes in, do you think it will be a mass? Like, are we going to see? Are we going to see signings of 2004 levels?
I think the only reason why you might not is that whether those players want to come. Whether
it's a problem to attract people when you're not in the Champions League. Isn't it?
Yeah, when you're not in the Champions League, and there's all real world class players are already at a club that is in a vastly better situation than Chelsea at the minute. It's still up in the air who the manager is. There's obviously things going on behind the scenes. I certainly think the squad needs a huge overhaul. It's every time you watch it and every time you look at the subs bench and see who comes on and see the way the team plays, the squad is horribly put together.
So a mass overhaul will be necessary. And also, any new manager that comes in is going to want to put his stamp on the team, isn't he?
Who would you want coming in the summer as a new manager?
I like Diego Simeone.
Would you?
I like his aggression. I like his passion. I like. There's not much. I like the way his team plays football. I think he's a winner.
Yeah.
There's very little I don't like about him.
No. I'd agree with you, and I think he would be, out of the kind of top names, he would be the most kind of prestige. He would be the closest to coming, especially with this Atletico transfer ban. I mean, my two questions with him is, everything we're hearing out of his camp, at least publicly, is that he's quite happy at Atletico.
Yes.
It's definitely a chance he could win the league.
Yeah, definitely. He's done it before.
Well, of course he's done it before, and he's also top of the league at the minute. He's on a hefty contract at Atletico, where the fans and the team absolutely love him. My other sort of, it's not a concern because I think he would be great for Chelsea, but we constantly heard about, Abramovich wasn't happy with Mourinho's football and the players weren't happy with Mourinho's football. Diego Simeone's football is very, very similar. It's very functional. And
he's also going to be the type of man who courts controversy. He's not going to be
definitely.
We're not going to be a universally loved club.
Even more so.
But I love that.
So do I.
I love it.
So do I.
I think that Chelsea Football Club are at our best when everyone hates us. Nobody hates us at the moment. They love welcoming us to their ground. They get 3 points. Let's be hated again. Let's get Simeone in, be nasty and win the league.
My curveball, and I'm sure I'll get some bad comments for this.
Do it.
I'm actually more and more thinking that I would explore the possibility of Mark Hughes. I think he's a Chelsea man. He's a Chelsea fan growing up and was a fantastic player for the club.
Yeah, I like Hughes.
He's the way he's completely changed the philosophy and what Stoke is.
But it didn't work.
Is incredible.
Certain managers, Charlie, I think it's fair to say, exist very well in. I think it's the big fish in a small pond. The Manchester City job seemed too vast for him,
That's true. I'm not saying that Mark Hughes, I think Mark Hughes would come in and win Chelsea the league and would be the best manager Chelsea have had. I think that Mark Hughes deserves the chance to get a big job.
He's had one.
10 years ago, over that.
Yeah.
And
was it that long ago, City?
And also, City wasn't that big a job at the time. City were 11th when he took over.
Yeah.
And he wasn't. City were not the.
I like Mark Hughes.
City were not the beast they are now.
Mark Hughes has probably scored one of my top 5 ever Chelsea goals. I was on the telly celebrating it.
Vicenza.
The game against Vicenza. Yeah.
You know who's
have
the
you
manager?
Seen me on the telly there?
Yeah, I have. I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah.
You know who was the manager for that? The Vicenza team.
No.
Was Swansea's new manager.
Oh, really?
Francesco Guidolan.
Right. What? He was the manager of Vicenza when we beat them.
Yeah.
God.
Knowledge.
Right. Yeah. Knowledge.
But yeah, I'm getting more and more disillusioned with constant change and constant.
It would be a beautiful story. It would be a wonderful story.
I think it's worth
boyhood
exploring.
Chelsea fan.
Yeah.
He comes back to he played for Chelsea, won a European Cup, not the European Cup, a European Cup.
Direct all your abuse down there.
Yeah. No, I like the idea, but do comment below and let us know exactly what you think.
Anyway, we'll finish on a good note. There's certainly not a lot to choose from, but what is Callum Reed, who comments a lot?
Hey,
so
Callum.
cheers, Cal. What is your Chelsea goal of the season so far?
That is a very good question, and it's obviously John Terry's back heel.
Yeah, definitely. I was trying to think of some really technical ones. No, absolutely not.
John Terry's offside winner.
Course,
It felt like, I'll keep calling it a winner. I know it wasn't a winner. Yeah. John Terry's offside. I did it. I had a chat with Poet, the Arsenal. Yeah. He was in earlier. And I was like, when we beat Everton, we didn't. I was like, well, we kind of did.
Yeah.
It felt that way.
Certainly felt like we did in Neil Brook afterwards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, John Terry's back heel. It was not only the best goal of the season, his best goal of the past 50 years.
Yeah. 98th minute, offside.
98th minute, offside,
captain.
back heel, captain, head first into the Matthew Harding.
That'll do me.
You in?
Yeah.
Lovely. So, guys, thank you so much for watching, and please comment below, get your questions in, and we could be answering yours next week. Go on, you Blues!